You have probably heard the quote, "There is two sides to every story." The idea it presents is about perspective, of how all scenarios introduces different people with unique motivations and experiences. Some of these stories and its characters are easier to delve into, to pick apart and therefore choose the morally correct side, but others are a bit more complex.
You are the man who gave them the power to destroy themselves.
I would argue that Star Wars, when observed with a simple eye, is designed to be easily understood. The evil Sith versus the good Jedi, the corrupt separatist versus the lesser corrupt Republic, and the cruel Empire versus the heroic rebellion. But is it really that simple? Well, like the quote states, it depends on who is telling the story, and today I'm gonna explore it from the perspective of the Galactic Empire.
Once more, the Sith will rule the galaxy.
And we shall have peace.
The psychology of the Sith is what formed this huge enterprise, and it's rooted in control. That forced order by the powerful equals peace, and that the weak will choose to accept it or get destroyed while trying to stand against it.
The pace of repression outstrips our ability to understand it, and that is the real trick of the Imperial thought machine. It's easier to hide behind 40 atrocities than a single incident.
What began as a welcomed end to the Galactic War quickly spiraled into more stormtroopers, more rules, and as a consequence, less freedom. We witness it through content like The Bad Batch, in how Palpatine slowly, through an almost seamless transition, spreads the wings of the Empire by introducing chain codes to get off planet, demobilizing the clone army in exchange for stormtroopers, and silencing everyone who doesn't agree.
Sir, I will not falsify an official report.
I will.
At the same time, there were those who liked it. A lot of people who signed up for the Imperial Academy. Han Solo served in the army and remembered that Luke were on the verge of doing something similar. In some aspects, people just want to go to work, do their job, and then go home to their family without having to worry about bandits, war, and so on. Something the Empire could give you, depending on how willing you are to stand in line. And there lies the dilemma, the one detail that hindered this dictatorship from lasting more than 20 years.
In the beginning, you all welcomed the Empire.
Not as warmly as you.
Emperor Palpatine brought peace.
Through persecution.
Not citizens like us, only rebels who threaten the Empire.
When the Clone Wars finally got wrapped up, people were tired of the constant war and bloodshed. That's why the Empire's drastic methods at first went quite unnoticed. But the longer it dragged on, the further out in the Outer Rim its oppression spread, the more distrust this supremacy created. Like our beloved Nemik mentions in his manifesto, the Imperial need for control is so desperate because it's so unnatural. And after a while, the galaxy had enough. They had seen the inhumane things the Empire were capable of, and therefore realized that ultimately no one is safe, except for when stormtroopers are trying to hit you. If we don't take into account how these bad soldiers constantly are trying to minimize casualties, the Empire were far from good. Yet it's always great to add perspective to a story, to try and understand why so many people went along with it. I personally love when content are told from the Empire's point of view. It just gives more context to the struggle and makes it feel more real. Things are rarely black and white or good and evil. There's all shades of grey, all sorts of good people who got caught up in the Empire because it was the best option for them. And the same could absolutely be said about the Rebellion. They weren't all awesome people. Just look at Saw Gerrera or Luthen Rael and their harsh yet effective methods. Or how many people the Rebellion ultimately killed by destroying 2 Death Stars with a lot of everyday folks working on it.
I've given up all chance at inner peace. I made my mind a sunless space. I share my dreams with ghosts. My anger, my ego, my unwillingness to yield, my eagerness to fight. They set me on a path from which there's no escape. I burn my decency for someone else's future. I burn my life to make a sunrise that I know I'll never see.
It's only when characters are presented with a choice, a more honest interpretation about their morals could be decided, like Callus in Rebels, Crosshair in Bad Batch, or Luthen in Andor. It's so fascinating what Andor presented with this character, that to fight against injustice, terrible, terrible decisions had to be made, lives had to be sacrificed, and so on, all illustrated in one man's actions, and that perhaps the only way to win against evil is by utilizing it yourself. It really makes you ponder about the galaxy far, far away. If the rebels should be looked upon as terrorists, like the Empire calls them, or if their actions are tolerable in comparison to what this evil regime stood for. There is two sides to every story, but it doesn't always mean that either of them is right. Yet in this case, it's easier to understand why the Republic flourished with peace for thousands of years and why the Empire only lasted for 20. In the end, order might equal peace, but peace doesn't always equal freedom. Let me know what you guys think about the Empire in the comment section below. If you want to watch another video of mine, you can click on this one that's about Kanan Jarrus. Thank you so much for stopping by, and I hope you will have a great day.